Alright, so heavyweight is probably in the worst state it's ever been in, and I think it comes down to two main reasons, being the lack of talent and Jones not defending his belt against the interim champion for nearly like 2 years, okay? Anyway, let me know what you think about heavyweight right now, and while you're down there, I'd appreciate if you like and subscribe. We just hit 520 subs yesterday, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, let me get into it. Now, I didn't think heavyweight could actually get any worse, but after seeing Sergey Pavlovich vs Rozenstruik, man, it is just absolutely terrible, okay? That was one of the most boring fights in heavyweight history, up there with Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. That was genuinely a terrible fight. But this fight made me realize how bad heavyweight has actually gotten, because Sergey Pavlovich, he's supposed to be one of the few exciting guys at heavyweight, okay? His boxing is really good, he has crazy power, he's like the white Ngannou. But he just keeps going out there and has like the worst performances ever. And he's had like the most boring fights back to back so far. And that fight against Rozenstruik, bro, he won, but he did absolutely nothing impressive. And then they cut Rozenstruik. This is so crazy to me because this is like the biggest issue right now. Heavyweight has such a lack of talent, and for some reason they're just cutting all their guys. They even cut Romanov a couple months back. And I can't even blame the UFC either, because these guys are terrible, okay? Rozenstruik, Romanov, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like these guys were extremely exciting or anything. You know, they weren't the worst fighters ever, but at least people kind of knew them. But this is actually becoming an issue for the UFC because all the ranked people at heavyweight are just terrible. It's so crazy because when you go outside like the top 5, top 6 of heavyweight, it just falls off so badly. Like, seriously, it's number 6 Jilton Almeida, then it's Sergey Spivak and Marcin Tybura. And then after this, bro, the bottom 15 of heavyweight is so bad. Okay, there's 2 guys who got ranked coming off losses. Dontel Mays and Jonathan Deniz. Both these guys are literally coming off losses. Dontel Mays literally lost to Shamil Gaziev, got 30-27, and is somehow ranked now. Jonathan Deniz literally got finished by Marcin Tybura and is ranked. By the way, Shamil Gaziev, I can't even believe I'm saying this. Shamil Gaziev is like one of the biggest prospects at heavyweight. Is that not crazy to anyone else? Shamil Gaziev, the guy who literally died of cardiac arrest because he couldn't go 15 minutes without food. This guy is now number 11 and is one of the biggest prospects at heavyweight. That is genuinely so crazy to me. The talent inside the rankings is so bad. And on top of that, somehow the state of unranked heavyweight is even worse. Those guys would not even do good on the local scene. If they had to go back to the regional scene, they would be even more cooked somehow because these guys are so terrible. They gas out immediately in round 1. They either have a crazy round 1 knockout, right? And everyone's like, oh my god, heavyweight MMA is so great. Or they have like the most boring fight ever and just like a war, even though both guys are just so shit, bro. Like, I don't know why this happens. I think the best example for this is probably Junior Tafa. Junior Tafa might be one of the worst fighters in the UFC. Okay, at least guys like Herbert Burns and Kron Gracie, as terrible as they are, they have good jiu-jitsu. They're pretty good at least one thing. Junior Tafa obviously does not have good grappling. The guy has terrible grappling. If you take him down, you've basically won the fight already. But the thing is, his striking isn't even good either. It's like, what is the point of this guy being in the UFC? If his name wasn't Tafa, this guy would probably be in a buffet putting them out of business. He has no striking either. Literally all Rogerio de Lima had to do against Junior Tafa was just leg kick him. All he had to do was use calf kicks, and Junior Tafa had no idea how to check a leg kick, no idea how to fight out southpaw. How is this guy in the UFC? Bro, send this guy back to the regional scene. But for some reason, they're not going to cut him, and they're going to cut Rozenstruik instead. It makes no sense to me. I think Junior Tafa's probably on like a 2-fight loss streak right now or something. I think he beat somebody. But still, again, like, bro, he's so bad, just cut him anyway, bro. Even if he's coming off a win, send him back to bloody Australia or whatever, bro. He should not be in the UFC. The craziest part is, Lucas Tracy's theory of light man skill is almost as solid as, like, evolution and, like, survival of the fittest at this point. It is crazy. If you're just a terrible light heavyweight, or you're like a Can or just a journeyman or whatever, if you move up to heavyweight, you're, like, basically goated, okay? Just look at, like, Kennedy Nezuchuku and, like, Jilton Almeida. I'm going to focus on Kennedy Nezuchuku because this guy, like, was not good at light heavyweight, okay? He was fine. I'm not going to say he was terrible, but he was kind of just like an average fighter light heavyweight. He literally lost to OSP, who was like 42 years old at the time. But now he's moved up to heavyweight. People are talking about Kennedy Nezuchuku like he's the next Cyril Gane, bro. People are saying that he deserves a top 5 opponent because there's no point of him fighting up the rankings because he's just way better than everyone. This guy, who could not even become a ranked light heavyweight, is able to now become possibly a UFC champion one day. Is that not crazy? That is like genuinely, that's just such a show of how bad the talent at heavyweight is. And I think the solution for this is fairly simple. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's fairly simple. All they would have to do is just to go to other promotions and get those heavyweights. Because the thing is, heavyweights in other promotions are actually like pretty good. I don't know why they aren't in the UFC. I don't know why they're not like trying to make any trades, because there's so many good guys outside the UFC. Like, I think the UFC should focus on getting the ONE FC champion like Rug, the guy that he beat to become champion, like I think his name is Antoli, and then on top of that, Fedor's student who's in like Bellator or something. Bro, he is so talented. Get Renan Ferreira as well. There's so many good guys outside the UFC who would probably love to join the UFC, and they're probably going to join the UFC at some point. Why not just try and make some trades now? Because it's like, instead of cutting Rozenstruik, instead of cutting Romanov, why do they not like send them to the PFL? Because guys like Rozenstruik and Romanov, they would benefit heavily from being in the PFL, and so would the PFL. Because look, Romanov and Rozenstruik, they're fairly decent names. People know them. Those are the kind of guys that might attract people to watch the PFL more than guys like Renan Ferreira and, you know, Vadim Nemkov, who are extremely talented and would benefit way more from being in the UFC rather than being in PFL, where, you know, not a lot of people know them. Like even Nemkov would be such a huge star in the UFC, and we would be able to build his name way more rather than being in the PFL where, you know, nobody watched the PFL or Bellator. Like nobody cares about those, you know, promotions. If he was in the UFC, he would be an absolutely huge star. UFC should be trying to get those guys, especially Nemkov, because I don't think Nemkov is champ, so it would be way easier to sign a guy like him. Same with Ferreira. Ferreira's a champ. Try and get guys like that. You know, Francis Ngannou, if they can somehow work that out one day, like if I was Dana White right now, I would be throwing all my money at Francis Ngannou, giving him whatever. He wants the boxing events, give it to him, okay? Because it's just going to save heavyweight. That's such a good trade-off, because you'd eventually make that money back anyway. So I think that's what Dana White should probably do. I think that's what the UFC should do. But the other issue of heavyweight, it's so much more obvious, and it's that Jon Jones just refuses to defend the belt, okay? And I don't even think that he's refusing to defend the belt, but he's just taking ages to do it, okay? He's not fighting Aspinall, who's been basically interim champ, I think, for a year now. And the reason this is so bad for heavyweight is, for some reason, everyone in the top 5 has like a personal beef with everyone, okay? Tom Aspinall doesn't want to fight anyone but Jon Jones, obviously, because he wants to get the belt. But then Cyril Gane doesn't really want to fight anybody but Aspinall, and he just wants to fight for the belt again, okay? And he's really not going to fight anybody else. He might fight, you know, like Dontail Mays, maybe, like some random layup fight to, you know, help him get to the title even more. But he's not really going to fight any good contenders. You know, Jailton Almeida, he wants to only fight Cyril Gane, and, you know, he doesn't really, you know, he doesn't seem to, like, be going for the belt right now. He wants to fight Cyril Gane, which, again, like, he only wants to fight Cyril Gane. But Jailton Almeida, he probably will fight other guys if he has to. And it's just, it holds up the entire division just because Jon Jones doesn't want to fight Aspinall. And, you know, Jon Jones, he does seem like he is going to take the Aspinall fight at some point if he gets offered enough money. And Dana White is most likely going to offer him that money anyway. But I do think that Jon Jones versus Aspinall fight is going to happen somewhat soon. I really doubt it. I think it's probably going to be in like MSG at the end of the year somehow. But yeah, I think they're probably going to make that fight. And I think the other fight that they should make is probably Cyril Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich. I think that would be a good fight, but at the same time, I think Cyril Gane would most likely... He's probably not going to take that fight for a very long time. He's going to wait as much as possible to see if he can maybe get the Aspinall fight. And if he can't, then he's going to fight Pavlovich in like 2 years or whatever. He's going to film another movie and go fight Pavlovich in like 2 years. And then, you know, Pavlovich, this guy's scared to fight absolutely anyone. I think Cyril Gane would probably destroy Sergey Pavlovich. And yeah, I think that's just what heavyweight has to do right now. But yeah, that's going to be it for that video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you really enjoyed that video, consider becoming a member. Okay, shout out Titano and Cold Art Maker. And yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. All right.